All right, Torture Talk. Like, share, subscribe to the page. Hit the thumbs up button if you like the content. So, look, man, this is like my third time doing this shit. This is a 6 o'clock show, by the way. This is my third time doing this shit. And I just want to say, I love y'all so much, man, that I'm out here really trying to get this shit going. So, today episode is about Drake and his contract. And this beautiful female, she does a deep dive on Drake. And her name is Samaria, something like that. I can't remember her last name. It's actually too long to repeat. I don't want to botch her last name. Yeah, so, and if I sound like Barry White or something like that, sorry, ladies. It is what it is, but I got to keep this mic close to me. You know what I'm saying? Pause. But I got to keep this mic closer. But look, man, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get into the video. Before I get into that, I got to get my spill. This is Torture Talk. If you like the content, please consider subscribing if you're not subscribed. Also, too, let me work for your subscription today. All the beautiful single ladies, put one in the chat. All the fellas, y'all know where to find the ones at. Just don't harass them. I don't sell no merch. But I do have content, and that's absolutely free. But if you want to leave a donation, links will be on the screen, Q card, all that good stuff. And Cash App, PayPal is in the description. Thank y'all for all y'all donations. I really appreciate y'all, man. I'm going to make this channel the best channel on YouTube if I could. You know what I'm saying? If I could, I would and I will. You know what I'm saying? Let me know where you from, too, man. They called me the hidden gem. I went from 1,300 subscribers to, over 10,000, almost 10,000. Trying to get to 1 million. So look, man, we're going to watch this video and we're going to come back and discuss. All right, so let's get it, man. I don't have no air horn. If I did, that's what it would sound. That's what it would sound like. So look, man, let's get to it. Let's do it.
Music group, the highest level of what is going on with Drake's record deal? And does he owe Universal Music Group $400 million? And is that a reason why he keeps releasing so much music? We need to talk about this. This is a really interesting story. I wasn't going to make a video about this, but anytime I post about Drake, I see this thing in my comments, whether it's on social media or my comments on YouTube. There's a rumor going around that Drake owes Universal Music Group hundreds of millions of dollars, and that's the reason why he keeps releasing more and more music. If you watch my channel, I've talked about how a lot of this is just devaluing his catalog. Most of these records are forgettable. We're not going to be talking about them. But there's been almost this conversation, these conspiracy theories on hip-hop podcasts and on YouTube channels that Drake doesn't have a choice. And in fact, because he signed such a big deal with Universal Music Group, he has to release this music.
So I see that she put up Urban Legend Will Evans video. You know what I'm saying? As I guess some type of conspiracy theory or something like Will Evans don't do his investigations, because Will Evans definitely do his investigations. I will say that he's very informative. You know what I'm saying? And not to say she isn't, but some people like to take little shots here and there at people. I really don't get involved in all that. I just give my opinion about something, and if it's, it is what it is. But either way, we're gonna see what she got to say about this contract thing here. Now, I feel as though that she kind of probably knows what she's talking about, but she shouldn't be taking those shots. But let's keep it going.
What's really going on? Before we even get into it, let's just put this out as a disclaimer. Nobody knows what's in Drake's contract except Drake, his immediate management team, his lawyer, and then the people at Universal Music Group, the highest level of executives and their business affairs department. Those are the only people who actually know what's in Drake's contract.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people, though. That's a lot of people. I mean, to be honest with you, like, I mean, hey man, that's a lot of people. One could say that. I mean, somebody probably told you, telling me that all of those people, nobody said nothing. Like, come on now. Somebody probably told people can't keep secrets. You know what I'm saying? Or nobody said nothing. Like, come on now. Let's be clear here. But that's a lot of people.
I know a lot of podcasters think that they have insights. You see people on Reddit or all over social media claiming that they have intel. Nobody knows what's going on. No one.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't say that nobody knows what's going on. You don't know that. You know what I'm saying? You don't know that. You have no clue either. But don't do that. Don't say that people don't know. This people could know. People can have family members. It could be anything. You should never just say no one knows. You know what I'm saying? Because people talk. So let's be clear about that.
Hasn't read that full contract, doesn't know what's in it. So let's kind of start from there. But we can make some conclusions based upon what's been reported by actual news sources, not just by gossip. It's not by.
But that's the same thing, though. What you're saying is kind of the same. You know what I'm saying? Things that have been reported that people don't really know if it's true or not, that's gossip. That's still gossip, though. Like, you don't know if it's true, but you're telling somebody that you read it somewhere. That's the same thing as gossip. It's no different.
Say, also based upon conversations I've had with people within the music industry and some standard practices that we've seen apply to other artists. So here's what we know.
But that doesn't mean anything. People can have standard practices, but people do things that a lot of artists tell people shit. Doesn't necessarily mean that because everybody's going off of what standard practices, common practice. A lot of people break those common practices all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I can't roll with that. No one knows the whole thing. Like, no one's for sure. Like, only Drake knows. Like, Drake has friends and people around him. I'm sure he talks. I'm sure he tells people shit. And I'm sure that they tell people shit. I'm sure that happens. I'm sure.
I think the best place to start is this Variety article from May 3rd, 2022. Those of you who aren't familiar, Variety is an industry trade. What that means is they report about the music business, the entertainment industry, Hollywood, through the lens of an industry trade. These articles are largely meant for people in the industry, so it's almost by industry for industry. And because of that, their sourcing tends to be really good. If they're going to report about a company, especially someone like a Universal Music Group, who's the biggest record label group, Variety's going to reach out for comment. They're going to be in contact with their corporate communications team.
Okay, so you're good. I see what you're doing here. You're going off of sources that you think are credible. You know what I'm saying? That's what you're doing. And it's not wrong with that. But I see exactly what you're doing here. It's like, okay, well, everything that I'm going off of, my sources are credible. And if it's not by Variety, or if it's not by a public trade, or if it's not by this journalist, then it doesn't even matter, because my sources are reputable. My sources are the one source that could be the truth. You still don't know, though. You know what I'm saying? You're not in the industry. You might know people in it, but you're not in it. Not taking shots at you. I'm just saying, like, you're not in the industry either, so you don't know if these people are telling you the truth. They could be feeding you false information as well. You know what I'm saying? But the point I'm making is Drake runs his mouth, and I'm sure he told people about his record contract. Can't say he didn't. I'm sure he did, because he runs his mouth. How do you think that the 400 million came about? Somebody had to say something, right?
It's very rare for a trade to just post something that they hear about or hear about something that's gossip. And for trades.
But wait a minute. It's very rare, but it does happen though, right? That's the whole point of things being common practice, like you said. But there's people who go around common practice. That's being very rare because something's common outside of that is rare, correct? So it is possible that someone did tell somebody about Drake's contract.
It's Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, or Billboard. When they cite sources, these are sources from in the industry. These should be vetted sources, people who can be fact checked, even if they're speaking off the record. It isn't just hearsay or gossip. It's on them to make sure that the information, as far as they know, is good. So this is what we're.
But you don't know. You don't know that. You don't know. How could you fact check something that you don't even know if it's coming from a reputable source? If I went to somebody and asked them for information about somebody, and I'm not in the club, and they're in the club, they could be lying to me. Who else am I gonna go to? Am I gonna go to somebody else in the club? What if they don't talk to me? So you kind of like have to go off of some of these people who tell you these things. Some people embellish things. Some people get things messed up. They have the right the right thing to say, but they just don't say the right thing. But let's keep it going.
He said, Drake strikes massive, multifaceted deal with Universal Music Group. One insider described the arrangement, which includes the rapper's publishing interests, as Lebron-sized. And the person who wrote the article is Shirley Halperin. This is a veteran journalist who's been covering entertainment for a very long time. So going back to what I said about consider the source, I would say that with Variety and this veteran reporter, what we read in this article is a great place for us to glean actual information and not just hearsay and gossip.
But it is hearsay and gossip because she didn't give you no information. She told you gossip. She didn't tell you what was in the contract. She just said Lebron-sized. That's literally gossip. That's gossip. I understand what you're saying. Trust me. I understand exactly what you're saying. But I'm saying that it's gossip because she didn't give you no factual evidence of anything. She just told you, again, that's high level gossip. That's the top of the line gossip. She basically told you that it's LeBron size, but at the same time, she didn't tell you what it was. So either she know or she don't know. And if she don't know, that means she's gossiping.
Take a look at what the article has to say. The article begins, you wouldn't know it from Sir Lucian Grainge's tone in today's Universal Music Group Q1 earnings call, but the chairman of the world's biggest music company confirmed what had long been expected, but never to be announced. That Drake had entered into an expansive, multifaceted deal with the company that encompasses recordings, publishing, merchandise, and visual media projects. Let's take a step back for a second. Universal Music Group is the biggest record label group in the industry.
But wait a minute. So let's be clear here. What you just said earlier, that you don't really believe in gossip. But this lady that is a reputable source is gossiping right now because she don't know what's in Drake's contract. She's saying sources say. So someone told her, and they're saying they're not even telling her what's in it. So obviously she don't know either. And I guess that's the point of your video. But the point I'm making to you is you're defending people who are reputable sources, but at the same time, they're not telling you anything either. So if I'm saying that Drake, I guess you going off a high level gossiping, because if I'm saying to you, I know what's in, I bet it's in Drake's contract because he has to pay all this money back, and you say, well, what did you learn that from? And I say, well, I don't know. I just read it around. I just read it around places and I seen stuff. Well, what's your reputable source, right? But then you tell me what your reputable source is. You say, well, my reputable source is this journalist who works for Variety. And I said, well, what did she tell you? And then you say, well, oh, she said this basically the same thing you said. So what are you saying? It's the same shit. It ain't like everybody's getting it wrong. It's the same thing. That's all I'm saying. It's the same thing. Even though I don't think that this is the point of the video. I'm just critiquing. I love to critique people sometimes, especially smart ones. And she seems like she's very smart.
So, Warner Music Group and Sony, those are like the big three. When people say that they're signed to a label, it's usually an imprint of one of these labels. So, for example, Drake's deal is specifically through Republic Records, and that is an imprint on Universal Music Group. Other imprints include Capitol Music, Def Jam, so you can be signed to those imprints, but the big parent company is Universal Music Group. The name Lucian Grainge is thrown around a lot. You'll actually hear some artists name check him in songs. He's considered one of the most powerful men in the music business because he is the CEO of Universal Music Group. So let's continue.
Now, Lucian Grainge, I believe he is mentioned in Puff Daddy's case. So this is getting real interesting. This is gonna be real interesting. He's definitely mentioned in Puff Daddy's case. If you look at the filing, his name is on there. I don't know if he's gonna get in trouble, but his name is on there. And yeah, he's a very powerful man. Let's keep it going.
Such expanded portfolios, as Grainge noted in the call, spanning multiple creative lanes and revenue streams. Keep that in mind. We're going to come back to it later. Also include the recently announced expansion of The Weeknd's deal with UMG, which aligns him, like Drake, with Republic Records. Drake's deal was completed in 2021. Of course, the nagging question is, how big is Drake's bag? One insider...
Yeah, so as far as The Weeknd goes, I think his is a little bit different from Drake's. I think he has a position or something like that from what I've read. I don't know if I should be gossiping. But I read that somewhere. I didn't get it from a ride.
Describes the arrangement as Lebron-sized without putting a number on it. Then they talk about how Drake himself seems to reference his deal in records like Lemon Pepper Freestyle. He mentioned $360 million. He also alludes to owning his masters on records. And he shouts out Lucian Grainge as well. Now,
so he could be lying. or hear me out. The source could be wrong. The source that they got it from, somebody could misled them because they don't really want them to know. Like, it's so many different ways you can go about this. But I love this content so far. Let's keep it going.
The meat of the article. According to sources, the deal could be in the vicinity of $400 million. And it's no stretch that it could even be more. So for sake of argument, let's use the $400 million.
That's literally gossip right there. That's gossip. It could be more. When you when people pass things down from people, that's literally gossiping. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're passing down a fact, it's still gossiping because you're talking. That's what gossip means. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean a negative or positive. It just means you're talking. You know what I mean? You're gossiping. So if someone at the top gave a fact, by the time it got to you, it's an opinion. Because people are going to add their twist onto it. So I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm just giving you some pushback. That's all.
Price tag. Drake signs this massive deal, reported to be somewhere in that vicinity of $400 million. But what does it entail? As the article says, it encompasses recordings, so this is his music, the music he puts out, specifically the streaming revenue, anything he's making from, let's say, physical sales like vinyl, publishing, so that's when Drake is the songwriter, whether it's his music or he's writing for somebody else. I know he doesn't do a lot of that, but just in theory.
I love it. I love how you just took a shot at him. I know he don't do a lot of that, but we're talking in theory. Let's keep it going.
Cover his publishing, merchandise. That's very interesting. And I don't know if that covers all OVO merchandise because, for example, like here in New York, OVO has a brick and mortar store. I'm not sure if Universal has
You in
any
New York?
piece of
Hold
that.
up, shorty. You in New York, shorty? Hold up, shorty. You in New York? Part of New York.
My gut is it's probably just merch as it relates to Drake as the artist. So think about t-shirts when he's on tour or any merch related to specific album releases or song releases. And this one is really interesting. Visual media projects. I'm not sure if Drake has said he's going to be doing documentaries, something in TV and film, and how that's going to connect to this deal, but it looks like it encompasses that as well. This is pretty all.
Yeah, so how does that, I don't understand how that works. So if they're in control of everything he does, whatever he do, they're in control of it. Which is kind of crazy to me that someone would actually sign something like that. Being a big artist like that. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I don't really totally understand his deal. But let's keep it going.
Encompassing, I would call this a 360 deal. I know that term is thrown around a lot, but to me, this does encompass all facets of Drake's career as an artist. And if Universal is going to pay $400 million, you bet that they want to get as much as they can. That is a lot of money. So, of course, they want to make sure that they have their hands in anything that he's doing artistically. I think we need to get more details. And the best place to start is with Drake's music. So let's look at his recorded music and see how that music is being credited. Has he given his masters away, or is this a licensing deal? So I'm going to pull up Drake's catalog right now. According to the Variety article, this deal happened in 2021. So let's go one album back. Scorpion dropped in 2018, and let's see how this album was released. Let's scroll all the way to the bottom on Spotify. Okay, look at the last line where the copyright is. Copyright 2018 Young Money Cash Money Records. In other words, I think this was part of Drake's old deal when he was still signed to Young Money and Cash Money, and at that point, they owned his masters. So how does that compare?
So Drake signed to Young Money, Cash Money during Scorpion, and then Certified Lover Boy, I believe, was next. So let's see where this goes. This is very interesting.
What happened after the deal? Let's look at Certified Lover Boy, which dropped in 2021, and see if that differs. I know we're getting very granular, but I think when we start talking about people's deals, there has to be some research. And I hate to say it, so much content I've seen out there are just people speculating, or it's conjecture, or just gossip and rumors. And I feel like with a few clicks, you can get so much information. Okay, so check this out.
Don't do that. People like to gossip. People like to talk shit. That's just the bottom line. I don't understand, like, and I don't think that bothers her, but I'm just saying, like, people like to spread rumors. That's just what it is. Like, some people don't want to look up shit. I know there's a lot of misinformation out there. I understand. But people like sensationalism. People like that Drake, they don't know Drake is signed to a deal. People want Drake to fail. People want, like, that's what you gotta understand. I get it that you this is what we have you here for. We have you here to correct everyone. You know what I'm saying? Some people don't like to be corrected. I'm just being honest. That's just what it is. Like, some people just don't like to be corrected. You know? So, I mean, we'll see though. Let's keep it going.
So this is Certified Lover Boy. Copyright 2021 OVO, October's very own, under exclusive license to Republic Records, a division of UMG Recording. An exclusive license. So what this means is Drake is no longer on a master deal. Instead, he is licensing his music to Republic Records, which, as we said before, is an imprint under Universal Music Group. All right, let's go to his most recent release, which is 100 gigs. And same thing, copyright 2024 OVO under exclusive license to Republic Records. Now, if you're at home.
Now, if she's saying under exclusive, if his deal is like that, this is music going forward. This is not music that he already put out already. This is the music that he already released already. The music that he's going to release. And they probably want him to be calculated in how he does it. I think that whole thing with all those songs with Family Matters and stuff, they didn't want that. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that that's bad for their brand. That's bad for what he's trying to sell. And I think Drake has gotten to that position where he feels as though that he's too big to fail. You know what I'm saying? So let's keep it going.
You're just totally confused. Let me explain. When you sign a deal to a record label, it can take on many forms. The most traditional record label deal is when the artist would give up their masters. You oftentimes hear artists talking about, I want my masters back, or I own my masters. The record label has given you some money in advance, and part of that back and forth, that trade-off, is that they own your master recording. Everyone's deal is different. Some people like a...
That's cookie cutter though. That's not exactly how it works. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand what you're trying to make it, giving it to people in the simplest form, but it's much more than that. It's not just that. Like, it's 100 times more complex than that. 100 times. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to record labels and record execs and all this stuff, most people don't even know what's in their contract. I mean, that's not your fault, but most people don't even know what advance money is. They think it's just something money that they're rich off of. They don't know.
Z have gone back in time and bought back his masters. Some people never buy their masters. I think you remember Taylor Swift had that big back and forth with Big Machine because she wanted to buy the masters, but then they went to somebody else. So that made a ton of headlines. So that's what it means when the record label owns your masters. Essentially, they can make money off you until the end of time. What's different with Drake's deal is it's a licensing deal. This is very similar to when someone signs, for example, to a distributor. Instead of signing to the major label, what they're saying is, I am licensing this to you. So for a set period of time, Universal Records, or in this case, Republic Records, they're making money off Drake's catalog. But notice, they don't appear to be making money off his back catalog. So everything before...
That's exactly what I just said. His back catalog is not what they're making money off of. They're making money off of his future catalog. And if Drake is putting out sub to mid music or mid stuff, they're probably regretting it. And he's probably trying to leverage that by not putting out good music, even though I don't think he's going to be putting out any really good music anymore. But I don't know. We'll see.
2021 appears to still belong to Young Money and Cash Money. I'm not sure behind the scenes if they're going to enable Drake to one day buy his masters back from them. What kind of conversations are happening there? I don't know. That would be a Slim and Birdman conversation. But for right now, Drake's music is being licensed to Universal Music Group. So they are making money off him, but it probably is for a finite period of time. And we don't know how long that could be. If we're talking $400 million deal, this could be 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. It has to be long enough that Universal feels they can recoup the money that they gave Drake. And $400 million is a lot of money to recoup. We don't know the terms of what Drake's deal is, but usually what happens in a licensing agreement, it's for a set period of time. So just for sake of argument, let's say it's 10 to 15 years. And that means in that time, Universal must make whatever money they can off Drake's music, his publishing, the merch, the visual projects. And within those contracts is what's called a minimum delivery requirement. What that means is within, again, the period of the contract, Drake must release a certain amount of music. This is something very common in both record label contracts as well as publishing contracts. And remember, Drake's deal reportedly encompasses both. And who knows how many songs that is. 400 million.
Yeah, so she read about that. And $400 million is a lot of money. Now, do I think that $400 million really put a dent in Universal Music Group? No, I don't. They're $1 billion company, and he probably made maybe 20, 40, 50 billion dollars. Not 50 billion, but they probably made a decent amount of money. So I understand, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't really know what's the requirement. It could be 10 years. I'm thinking that most likely it's about 10 to 15 years.
Dollars is a lot. So I'm going to guess we're talking multiple albums worth of songs. I know nowadays with streaming and the way artists release music, album is a little bit of a misnomer. Like it could just be a mixtape, it could be a collection of songs. I think his 100 gigs, just him releasing random records, putting it all together will probably encapsulate what we would call an album. But I'm sure there is a set number of what he needs to release as a minimum. And if he doesn't release it, there will be some sort of repercussions, usually financial. I've had insights into certain artist contracts, for example, with distributors. If they weren't able to recoup the amount that they got in advance, technically the distributor can ask for the remainder of the money back. There's so many different kind of ways and loopholes. Sometimes it's after a set period of time. If you still have to recoup, the artist can pay that money back. Sometimes the contract will just extend indefinitely until you do recoup. So this really just depends on who the lawyer is. I'm sure Drake had a great lawyer and someone who aggressively made sure that he would be protected.
So this, to me, this sounds more like a loan. Now I understand what they're saying. It sounds more like a loan. It definitely does, because if you get paid $400 million for somebody to license your stuff, and they come back to you and say, "Well, we didn't get our money back," you know what I'm saying? That's a loan to me. It's like that's a loan. That's how I look at it. Maybe other people look at it differently.
By the same token, Universal also needs to be protected. If we're giving you such a significant investment, and we don't know the way that the investment was made, it could have been straight cash up front. It could be a combination of cash and stock because they are a publicly traded company. Maybe the $400 million includes money given to him as well as a recording budget, marketing budget. All of that is unclear. So when artists throw around these numbers like, yeah, I signed an 8-figure deal or a 9-figure deal, there's so many different iterations that can take that we'll never have full insight into. So don't believe everything that you hear. This is going to get very industry, but I think we need...
I can agree with that, what she's saying, but at the same time, everybody, that does happen to everybody. You can't say you don't believe everything you hear. Some people like I said, people like gossip. But let's keep it going.
Look at Universal Group's financial success. I pulled up their financial report. This is the year ending December 31st, 2023. And let's just look at the summary. Universal Music Group made $11 billion in revenue. $11 billion.
Just what I just said. $400 million ain't nothing to them. Well, that's a lot of money to us, but to them, that's chump change. That's not even that's not $1 billion. You know what I'm saying? $400 million. $400 million. That could probably feed the whole New Jersey. Oh, shit.
With a B. And as they're reporting, this is an increase of 7.4%. And their own financial report says this. Top sellers included Taylor Swift, the Rolling Stones, Drake, Jungkook, and Stray Kids. So of all of Universal Music Group, they are pointing to Drake as one of their top sellers. If we're going to take a step back, in the Universal Music Group ecosystem, Republic Records, which, if you remember, that's where Drake's licensing deal is the most successful imprint. They have Drake, Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, The Weeknd, Morgan Wallen. I mean, the list goes on and on. Just take a look at the Billboard charts on any given week. Republic tends to have the lion's share. So not only is Drake on the most successful imprint at the label, but per Universal's own filings, he is one of the most successful artists on the label as a whole. I think this idea.
I think that that's about to change though, because I think they banking off of his old music that he's gonna make new music the same way that he did with his old music, but I don't think that that's gonna happen. I actually think that we're watching the fall of Drake right now. You know what I'm saying? Even though I know that's not her argument, but that's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
That somehow Universal and him are having a fight, they're not getting along, they're not happy with him. It doesn't seem to be true. If anything, they're making a lot of money from him. He made a lot of money from them too. So there might be people wondering, why would Drake sign this deal? He could go independent, he has plenty of money, he could fund his own ventures. Why even be beholden to someone like a Universal Music Group? Well, I'll tell you, everyone likes playing with the house money. Even very rich people, rich artists, they could easily fund their own artistry, but it's so much better when someone else gives you the money up front.
That's such a generic way of looking at it, though. I'm not gonna lie. That's such a generic cookie cutter way of looking at it. I think you thought about it, and I think that that's the only solution you came up with in your head. The only answer was, well, everybody likes to spend house money. Even Drake, he can fund his own. No, they probably leveraged him into doing this. You know what I'm saying? That's what probably was. But my thing is, let's just think about it this way. Drake is the biggest artist, one of the biggest artists in the world. He don't need a record label, right? And he can literally stop doing music and will be where he's at for the rest of his life. He don't have to do anything. I don't think that he did this deal because everybody likes to spend house money. I think he did this deal because he was leveraging to doing it. I believe that whoever he's messing with, they kind of like, I'm gonna say made him do it, but I don't know. I just don't think it was everybody likes to spend house money. That's something that's, to me, that's just too generic. I think it's much more than that. That's just my opinion.
I think Little Kim said it best when she said, why spend mine when I can spend yours? Aside from that are just the resources. Drake signing this extensive deal means that other people who work at Universal, it's their job to handle things. He doesn't have to deal with hiring a marketing team or a merch team or PR. Who should he hire to go work his records at radio? All of that is inbuilt in the Universal system. And
I understand that, but at the same time, people would jump at the fact to work for him. He literally could have started his own company if he wanted to and did the same thing. I just think sometimes we look at things from a point of view of money, which is fine. But at the same time, I mean, the way she's explaining it, it just sounds like people are just beholden to money and they'll do anything for money. That's what it just seems like to me, the way she's explaining it. It's like, oh, well, you got to understand this is what they would do for money. This is how they would do it because it's already set up this way and that's what it is. And to me, I don't know. I'm just not feeling that. I mean, maybe she's right, but for me, I'm not feeling that. I wouldn't have approached it that way. I'm sorry.
Infrastructure, having people with institutional knowledge and expertise can be invaluable for artists, even at Drake's level. It's fun.
But again, I think Drake's been in this game for years. He don't need people that have knowledge about the game anymore. He knows everything they need to know. He done talk to everybody. He's a multi-platinum successful artist. There's no case where Drake doesn't know anything. There's somebody that came across him that told him and showed him. He's been in this game for almost 20 years. You're telling me that he can learn more, which is fine. He probably could, but I'm sure he knows enough now not to be signed to any of these people anymore.
We're in this era of everyone wants to say they're independent and they own their masters, and those are great optics, like it's great for headlines, but behind the scenes, people love spending the label's money. Whether it's a record label,
That's opinionated. Gotta be careful with that. That's opinionated because a lot of artists don't want to be signed to their label anymore, but they can't get out of it because they don't have good enough lawyers to get out of the deal. Some artists sign these deals and they don't know why. You know what I'm saying? So that you gotta be real careful about saying stuff like, well, you don't gotta be careful like you're gonna get a beating or something. But you gotta be careful. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. You gotta be careful. So let's keep it going.
publishing company, it's so much easier to have someone else cutting the check. Plus, $400 million is life-changing money. Even after Drake's management takes their, let's say, 10 to 15% cut, his lawyer's probably going to take another 5%. Uncle Sam's going to come in at maybe like 25 to 35% based upon how Drake is being taxed. That's still life-changing money. Imagine what he can do with that. He can invest in businesses and other ventures beyond music, or just be liquid. I mean, a lot of your favorite artists, they hemorrhage money. Private jets, luxury clothing, having a full staff around them, multiple homes, music videos, the best producers, features, all of that stuff adds up. Who wouldn't want to have a couple $100 million in the bank to help pay for those expenses?
Most artists don't have $100 million in the bank. And I would even argue that Drake don't have $100 million in the bank. I can almost guarantee he don't have $100 million in the bank. Most people don't even have that type of money in the bank. You know what I'm saying? And Drake's he's not a part of the top 1%. Even the 1%ers probably don't have $100 million in the bank. You know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion. But as far as Drake goes, I'm sure he has some money, but $200, $300 million in the bank, I don't think so. I don't think he has that. You know what I'm saying? You look it up. Most people go off of when they say, oh, this person is worth $20 billion or $200 million. It doesn't mean they have. Because most people think because they're worth $200 million that they actually have that in the bank. No, that's not the case. But let's keep it going. This is a really good video.
So personally, I don't see tension with Drake and Universal Music Group. I haven't heard anything in the industry. There's not any whispers of anything going on. But one theory of why he keeps...
Come on now. You can't be saying that you don't listen to gossip, but then say you haven't heard anything. There's not any whispers going on. That's literally gossip.
releasing so much music is so he can get out of this contract. Not that it's a bad contract, not that he's unhappy, but he just wants to recoup as fast as possible so he can go on to the next venture and the next thing. Just look at his label mate, Taylor Swift. Every time she releases music, she does like 5 more Taylor versions. And yes, it started as kind of an FU to the people who owned her previous masters. She devalued that catalog and all her fans listened to the re-recorded versions, which I think is pretty brilliant. But I also think that she probably also signed a big deal with Universal Music Group. Remember what I said? She's also on Republic Records, just like Drake. She hits those delivery requirements sooner than later. Like Drake, she can either get out of that deal or re-sign and renegotiate for more money. That's my thoughts on Drake's Lebron-sized deal. If you've heard anything, let me know in the comments, and please cite your sources. It can't just be something you heard through the grapevine. I want to know the sourcing on this. You think it was smart for Drake to sign this big deal? Now he gets to play with Universal's money, and he also has their expertise and resources at hand. Do you wish that Drake and big artists like him went more independent and they were funding their own art? I would love to know your thoughts in the comments.
Yeah, that was a pretty good video. Yeah, man, that was a pretty good video. I will say this. Sometimes we got to understand that people do like gossiping. And just because you cite some sources doesn't mean anything. Because people like gossiping. Let's be clear here. So, I don't know. But that was a pretty good video, man. Y'all make sure y'all go follow her. Source will be in the description, all that good stuff. All right, man. I'll see y'all. Peace. See y'all in the morning. Have a good night.